Over the years of observing human behavior, it becomes clear that intelligence is not just extensive knowledge, but also the ability to live consciously, treat others with respect, and learn from one's mistakes, integrating one's shadow. However, there is one important aspect that cannot be overlooked. There are 6 obvious signs that unfailingly reveal a lack of true wisdom. These signs are not merely traits, but signals indicating where our weaknesses, our shadow, reside and where we need to grow. Awareness of their significance goes far beyond simple evaluation of others. Recognizing such signs becomes a tool for deep self-analysis, a way to avoid common mistakes that hold us back, and an opportunity to realize one has fallen into the trap of one's own delusions and complexes. Each of the 6 signs is not just a characteristic, but also a lesson concealing within it a path to transformation, to individuation. These lessons are like a mirror that helps us look at ourselves from the outside, encounter our shadow, and choose the right direction towards personal growth. A closed mind is a bastion of ignorance, built from the bricks of fear and pride. Such a mindset rejects everything new, clinging to the familiar, even if it doesn't work. It is like being locked in a cage where any idea that goes beyond the boundaries of what is customary seems like a threat, a challenge to one's persona. However, behind the facade of confidence often lurks self-doubt and a fear of admitting mistakes, of facing one's shadow. The real strength of the mind manifests not in defending the old, but in being willing to admit that there is no limit to learning and development, to expanding consciousness. Imagine a department head in a company who is convinced that time-tested working methods are all that is needed for success. When one of the employees suggested implementing modern project management tools to improve efficiency, the manager categorically rejected the idea, asserting, "We have always done it this way, and it has worked." His unwillingness to open himself up to new approaches led to the team experiencing difficulties with outdated processes, while competitors significantly outpaced them, instead of admitting his mistake. However, wisdom is the power of an open mind, and the path to true knowledge lies through a willingness to acknowledge one's limitations and learn from others. One must look beyond the familiar, not be afraid to question one's own thinking. In the modern world, this is especially important. Without adaptation and a willingness to change, a person becomes a prisoner of the past, a slave to their complexes. If you notice signs of closed-mindedness in yourself or others, take a step forward. Allow yourself to admit that mistakes are not a defeat, but an opportunity for improvement, for shadow integration. Embrace change as part of personal growth, as part of the process of individuation. Only when we break down the walls of stubbornness and fear does true wisdom, true selfhood, gain strength. An open mind is the key to greater understanding, success, and harmony. The second sign, constant blaming. People who lack wisdom easily find someone to blame, but rarely look in the mirror. They use accusations as a way to evade responsibility, attributing their failures to external circumstances. The project failed, it's because of the bad conditions in the market. The work wasn't done because I didn't receive help. But the truth is that constant blaming becomes a barrier separating a person from true growth and self-improvement, from meeting their shadow. Take, for instance, a situation from a professional setting. In a team, a project encounters a setback. Instead of calmly understanding the reasons, the manager starts pointing out the mistakes of subordinates, blaming them for insufficient involvement or professionalism. A detailed analysis reveals that at the early stages, it was he who made a miscalculation that later became the cause of the failure. Instead of acknowledging his role, the manager avoids taking responsibility for his actions. Such scenarios are repeated not only in work, but also in personal relationships. In these contexts, constant blaming can become a source of conflict, undermining trust and intimacy. Wise people understand that responsibility is not a burden, but a key to personal and professional success. In order to overcome the habit of blaming, it is important to ask oneself a few simple but profound questions. What could I have done better? How did my actions affect the situation? What lessons can I learn from this experience? These questions help not only to learn from past experiences, but also to build a solid foundation for future successes. True wisdom lies in courageously accepting one's mistakes and perceiving them as opportunities for improvement. This requires boldness and awareness. But it is precisely these qualities that distinguish strong and confident people, those who walk the path of individuation, from those who remain prisoners of blame and self-deception. Accepting responsibility is the path to freedom, inner balance, and the trust of others. Only by overcoming the barrier of accusations can one unlock one's true potential, one's selfhood, and inspire others to do the same. The third sign, arrogance prevails over humility. Arrogance is not just a defense mechanism concealing inner insecurity. Arrogant people strive not for truth, but to rise above others. They use their intellectual or professional superiority as a tool to assert their significance. A bloated ego often belittles. Imagine a situation where a manager constantly emphasizes his achievements while ignoring the efforts of his team. At meetings, he dominates, not allowing others to express their opinions, considering his decisions the only right ones. When a project fails, instead of looking for a solution, he evades responsibility, blaming others for being unable to follow his brilliant plan. This not only undermines the morale of the team, but also hinders the joint search for a way out of the crisis. Such behavior deprives everyone of opportunities for growth, including the manager himself. Humility, on the contrary, is not a weakness, but strength. It opens doors for collaboration, innovation, and deep understanding. Humility does not require denying one's own talents, but suggests using them for the benefit of others. To break free from the trap of arrogance, it is helpful to ask oneself questions. Am I listening to understand or to answer? Am I willing to admit that I might be wrong? These simple reflections can break down the walls of pride and ego and open the path to true wisdom. Wise people, instead of suppressing others, help them grow. Humility is not about belittling one's own significance, but the ability to see value in everyone and to learn even from those who think differently. True wisdom is revealed when arrogance gives way to a willingness to listen and be understood. This is the path not only to personal development, but also to creating an environment in which all flourish, an environment conducive to individuation. The fourth sign, lack of empathy. A lack of empathy is not simply a character flaw, but one of the most noticeable traits indicating a lack of wisdom. It is a manifestation of the inability to put oneself in another's shoes, to understand their experiences, and to be aware of what difficulties they are going through. Without empathy, a person not only limits their own inner world, but also risks harming others, often without even realizing it. Such a trait impoverishes not only relationships, but also the person themselves, depriving them of the opportunity to develop through communication and mutual understanding. Imagine a situation where children withdraw into themselves, avoid conversations, and look irritated. Parents, instead of understanding the reason, might start criticizing. You complain too much. You are never happy. You have no real problems. Instead of trying to understand the child's feelings, to find out what is happening with them, and to offer support, they distance themselves, reproaching them for ingratitude. Such a reaction only exacerbates the problem, pushing the child away even more. They no longer dare to talk about their experiences, fearing judgment and misunderstanding. Parental criticism becomes not a tool for help, but an obstacle on the path to trust. Such behavior shows the parent's inability to see the situation from the child's point of view, to understand their inner world. In moments of misunderstanding, you should take a step towards, ask a question with sincere care. For example, you look upset, did something happen? And give the child the opportunity to be heard. This simple gesture can not only strengthen relationships, but also create space for mutual support. Wisdom is not born from knowing everything in the world, but from the ability to empathize with other people, to understand their inner world. Those who lack empathy risk finding themselves in isolation, creating around themselves an atmosphere of coldness and misunderstanding. Compassion is not a weakness, but one of the most important bridges connecting people. It enriches us, allows us to understand the world and our place in it more deeply. Each time we pause to sincerely listen to another person, we become not only. If you have ever felt a lack of empathy, start small, listen without judgment. This first step will open the door to a deeper understanding and allow you to find the wisdom that makes life truly meaningful. The fifth sign, fear of change, clinging to the comfort zone. The comfort zone is a haven where everything is familiar and predictable. However, behind its seeming comfort lies a cage that limits opportunities and prevents progress towards individuation. People who fear change cling to outdated methods and beliefs, even if they have lost their relevance. They are like trying to hold water in their palms while the river of life continues to flow, changing. Think of a person who has been doing the same thing for many years, avoiding any changes. When his company offered to learn new technologies or attend training, he rejected the proposal, stating, "I know everything already. Why do I need this?" However, over time, his skills became obsolete, and new employees with more modern knowledge. As a result, the fear of change left him behind, while the world around him continued to develop. Only when faced with the need for change did he realize how much his resistance had slowed down his personal and professional growth. After much hesitation, he decided to study, master new tools, and began to feel confident in his abilities again. This showed that not only preserve your place, but also open up new perspectives for development. Changes are inevitable, and resisting them means going against the very nature of life. Those who accept changes, even if they seem scary, open themselves to endless opportunities for growth, for individuation. The fear of change is just an obstacle in our minds, created by the imagination, by the shadow. You need to take a step forward and ask yourself important questions. What do I lose by staying in place? What opportunities might open up if I risk it? These questions help to see that changes are not only inevitable, but often become a door to new horizons. Life is movement, and whoever refuses to go with the flow remains behind, missing opportunities. Instead of fearing change, let them become your ally, accept them as part of the path, and you will find that every step beyond the comfort zone brings not only challenges, but also incredible opportunities for personal growth and self-realization. The sixth sign, the predominance of monologue over dialogue. People prone to much talking are a barrier hindering true communication. They not only miss the opportunity to learn something new, but also destroy the connections that require attention and mutual respect. This sign, paradoxically, is often masked by confidence, a bloated ego, but in reality, it demonstrates a lack of wisdom. Think of a situation in a circle of friends. One of them is constantly telling long stories about his successes or giving advice, even when he is not asked. He rarely pauses to inquire about the opinion of others and almost never notices when someone tries to insert a word. Over time, others begin to avoid conversations with him, feeling that their voice simply does not matter. This is especially painful in family relationships, when constant monologues by one family member deprive others of the opportunity to express their thoughts and emotions. This approach not only suppresses, but also creates emotional distance that is difficult to overcome. True wisdom lies in the ability to be silent and listen. Only through listening to the thoughts and opinions of other people can one discover new horizons and see the world from a different perspective. Listening is not just an act of politeness to deep connections and mutual understanding. It requires sincere attention. If you notice in yourself a tendency to talk more than listen, start with a small step. The next time you are in a conversation, ask a question and give the person the opportunity to fully express their thoughts without interrupting. Try to hear not only the words but also the emotions behind them. This experience will help you see the world in a new light. Wisdom begins with the ability to hear. Those who learn to listen build stronger relationships and discover the world of true understanding. Each of us has at least once in our lives manifested one or another of these signs. Perhaps we were arrogant for clinging to the familiar out of fear of change, or we lost the ability to listen to others. This is absolutely natural. Knowledge of these moments is where our real strength lies, the opportunity. The opportunity to become more attentive, more tolerant, braver, and wiser. If you recognized yourself in some of these descriptions, this is not a reason for self-condemnation. It is a reminder for you. Wisdom is not a final point, but an endless process, a path. The path to wisdom, the path of individuation, is a path for those who are brave enough to admit their mistakes, accept challenges, and choose inner strength, the strength of selfhood, instead of fear. Start today, take a step towards your best version, and let this path become a source of inspiration for and those around you.